All right, so now we'll bring up our special guest.
Very special.
Very special.
You go first.
Okay.
Alex Holderness and John Bourne. Thank you for being here from Holderness and Bourne.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man.
bud.
Absolutely. Thank
Good to
you
be
guys
with
for
you.
being here.
Yeah.
For those of you I haven't met or the folks online that I have not gotten the pleasure to meet, my name is Russell Riddell. I'm the education chairman for the Georgia section of the PGA, which is why I'm here doing this.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I know, believe me. You guys had to get that email and go, who? No, but in all seriousness, it's obviously a pleasure to be here. Gotten to spend some time with you guys in the past, and so really was excited to hear that you guys were coming to tell this story because I think pretty relevant here in the Georgia section because I've heard that this was where you guys got some pretty big breaks, but we do have kind of some air to clear between Krista and I. When Reese Milliken, your rep, started out here in Georgia, I got an Instagram message saying, hey, I've got this great new line. I'd love to come see you. And as I was a greengrass pro at the moment, he brought the line and showed me, and he guaranteed that I would be the first account in the state of Georgia to bring in Holderness and Bourne if I decide to do so. And I told that story to Krista, and she said, I'm pretty sure I was the first. So,
We
clear?
might need to take this up with Reese. I mean, you're on the other side.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, well, but hold on. You're on the other side of the.
Placed an order prior to me joining the company.
And you're on the other side of the table now. You understand sales tactics, right? Getting somebody's attention.
I don't really. But now I just learned one.
Yeah. We were very fortunate to build a base of accounts in Atlanta and in Georgia early in the business's life, and that's because we came down to this market. We focused on it because we knew that this was, in a lot of ways, the home of American golf, and we wanted to be here. So Alex and I, when we first started the company, it was a company of two people. It wouldn't look at it and think of it as a company. You'd think of it as two guys trying to figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
We can talk more about what we were trying to figure out. But when we started the brand, we knew we were a golf brand, and we wanted to go to the places where people love their golf, and they thought carefully about everything related to the way they put themselves together on the golf course, what clubs they were playing, had a reverence for the history of the game like we do, and Atlanta was one of the first markets we kind of came down and pursued. So that is my diplomatic way of saying we love all of our children. And there were a number of, I would say, maverick type accounts who saw something in what we were doing and took a shot. And Cuscola was one. Eastlake was certainly one.
Cusco was very early.
Yeah. Collier sitting here from Peachtree, that was another one.
Yeah.
And a handful of others. Now we could go to the record, which I did, and see the actual first account, and we could look at that by who booked their order first, who actually submitted it first, or who was shipped first. But that's confidential data, and we will not be sharing that this evening.
Well, and I heard, Wingfoot was one of the first. Is that accurate?
It is, yeah.
Do you know who the first green grass account was?
Yes. Well, we had 4 that hit sort of right as we started going out to sell around the New York area where we're based, and Wingfoot was one of them. We went in to see Grant Sturgeon when he was the lead assistant there in charge of the retail. He's now at Arcola running the show over there in New Jersey, but he gave us a shot. So Wingfoot was among the founding 4, as we think of it. Greenwich Country Club, Somerset Hills, and what was the 4th? Waikagill.
Yep.
So those were the 4 that got us going.
And that was a function of, we were based in New York at the time. We had at first it was out of our apartments, as, classic entrepreneurial story. You kind of, don't have any money to rent anything. And so we were shipping product out of our apartments, or then girlfriends, fiancés, now wives were looking at us like, what is going on? My house is filled with, boxes. And then we got a little spot on Fifth Avenue because we liked the address, but it was a mezzanine, essentially a closet. It was meant to be a closet, I think, and then we rented
A storage area.
Yeah.
For boxes.
Yeah, storage. Right. And it was just a function of who was close by. Who could we jump in the car and go show this stuff to? And this stuff was 3 shirts in 3 colorways, 9 things, which to the folks in this room will sound cute, but you could hold it on one finger. And that's what we had. That was it. And we went out and you know, like so many others, kind of threw it in the trunk of our car and preached the gospel that we had, which was better fit, better collar, and, you know, give it a try. And if it sells, we'll be back in a couple weeks. If it doesn't, nice doing business with you.
Well, that was going to be kind of the place I wanted to start. It's an obvious place to start. But why another shirt? You know, I mean, I asked Reese the same thing when he walked into my office. I'm like, why another shirt? So tell us, like, why did you guys start there? Or what was the kind of push to?
Sure. Yeah, well, somebody was just asking a few minutes ago whether we worked in the apparel business before this, and the answer is no. John and I had various careers that had nothing to do with golf or retail apparel, but we were both on a hobby level just clothes horse type guys. We both knew what we liked. We had brands that we thought were cool. We knew what was happening in menswear outside of golf, and then we'd go into these golf shops back in 2012, 2013 when we were figuring out the concept for the brand, and we just couldn't find what we liked. We just couldn't find things that were appealing in terms of fit and styling and other aspects of the way we wanted to dress. And so we kept talking about it. You know, we would play some golf and have drinks afterwards, and we both had a very strong shared point of view that there was something missing in golf that we might be able to figure out. And we combined that with a very strong itch that we both had to scratch, you know, for the entrepreneurial path in life. We had both worked at big companies doing the corporate thing, and we got MBAs, and we were sort of part of that whole scene where that's what you do. And we were friends in part because we have a lot in common, and one of those things is just, can we maybe go start a company? Like, what if we did it? What if we gave it a crack? And we were, to John's point, we were dating women at the time who we were probably knew we were going to marry. And then the women hopefully could be patient if we did what we ended up doing. But we knew the window was closing, right? We were in our mid-30s. Like, we're not young kids coming out of college. We're in our 40s now. And so we knew back then in 2013 when we were having these conversations that we had one little last window to go and give something a shot. And so we decided we wanted to do this because we thought the opportunity was there to put a better shirt into the market. And maybe John can talk more about the details that we thought we could do better at.
We were buddies. We met at business school at Yale, played a lot of golf together, and we were sickos for two things, golf and clothing. And we were just the guys in our group, and we really formed a friendship around that. And super particular, you know, about everything. And that's why where, you know, 1,000 guys walk into the pro shop and say, well, that's pretty good and that's pretty good, I'm happy. We walked in and said, well, but like, imagine if you just cut the collar away just that little more so it had that English spread just the way our dress shirt collars that we were wearing Monday to Friday. And what if you took the interfacing, that fusible that they put in these dress shirts, and you put that in a polo shirt, and maybe even we could do what they do on those sport collars where you have that sewn-in collar stay that's plastic, totally wash and wear friendly, and you put that in so that our polo shirts could look, in terms of that frame your face, just feel like you're an alpha looking like $1 million look on a polo shirt. Why has no one done this? Let's go figure that out. So that was one thing. The collar was a big point, and then the other point was fit. So a lot of classic brands were boxy, very boxy at that point. Happily, many of them have tacked and toward where we are, but toward the more, you know, not slim fit, I don't think that's quite accurate, but just a little bit more sane in terms of sizing. You shouldn't walk into a golf shop and be a size smaller than you are everywhere else. So the combination of fit and classic style was something we weren't seeing. The brands that were giving us the fit we wanted were not doing the style we wanted. There were tacky colors, huge logos, just not right from our aesthetic perspective. And the brands that were doing, you know, decent color aesthetic were not doing the fit we wanted. So that was it. Better collar, better fit, classic style. Let's see if we can figure it out. Mm-hmm. And one night we're post-golf having some drinks in downtown Manhattan and looked at each other and said, let's stop complaining about this and let's go do something about this. And we met up the next morning in the garment district in New York. We're very fortunate to live in a place where there was a garment district and there were people who were making things all day, every day as their livelihood. There were places you could go and source fabric and start to figure it out. But we didn't have any kind of background, and we were just very passionate about figuring it out, very humble about what we didn't know, and very determined to get to a place where we had a prototype shirt. And we did that. It took about a year because we had jobs at the time. And that was it. Let's make a better golf shirt.
Yep.
That was it.
So then, obviously getting to that prototype, that's an obstacle. When you got to that point, what obstacles did you kind of face from actually building the company that all of your buddies were out there doing, and now it's like, okay, it's me and a friend. What kind of obstacles do you think you faced early on in the starting of the company?
My first answer to that is literally everything. Like, just everything was something we had to figure out because we didn't spend 8 years at Ralph Lauren or some other great brand where you have the playbook. So we stumbled a bit, with sourcing the right fabrics, knowing what tests you need to order on fabrics to make sure that the color fastness is good and that they won't pill or snag or fade, So we had no idea what we were doing on that front. So it took us a while to figure out product. Took us a while to figure out the exact marketing angle we wanted with the brand. We knew we wanted to be in golf, but we had to really dial in and calibrate our pitch and what was different about the brand and why people, like folks in this room, should care and pay attention to
Well,
us.
I would say in the pro shops, that was my first thought, was every single person said, I have Peter Millar, I have Polo, what are you doing here? And that was the biggest hill we had to climb in those early days, was to explain why it made sense. And we said, look, we're your customer. We observe that the trend as far as the way people are dressing is moving away from big and boxy and sleeves over your, elbows and the rest of it. It's moving towards something a little more fitted. That dovetails into general fitness trend and these other things, whether, how people are taking care of themselves and how people wanted to dress. That also dovetails into what fabric sciences were doing to put stretch materials and all the, think about, it didn't used to be you could get a cotton with stretch or a polyester with stretch blended fabric. That's a relatively new thing. So we were observing that there were these ways where you can have it fit you a little bit closer to your body and not have it restrict your golf swing one bit because of new materials that just didn't exist before. So we're observing all of that and saying, this is where it's going. This is where the puck's going, and we want to help you get there. We also realized that guys were wearing these products, let's use the polo shirt as the first example, in places other than golf courses. And we see it now. I mean, it's like COVID with Zoom meetings and everything else. Just casualization of the workforce was a thing that we saw then and said, this is only going in one direction. And if you're going to wear a polo shirt to your job or on a Zoom call, it should look pretty sharp. It should not look all jacked up. So we're going to help you sell that product to your golfing member, and then they will realize they can wear it in these other places, and they'll come back and buy another one. So that's the story we had to tell, but a lot of people just didn't quite understand why they needed something else.
I asked that question and found out the answer. So then when did you feel like you had something? Like, when was that time where you were like, all right, we got prototype, we got this thing built, we're going out, selling out of our car. When did you feel like, man, I think we got something here?
I'll tell you what, the moment in my mind is about 2 weeks after we shipped the first Wingfoot order, because they called and said, we're out and we need more colors, and we've got members here who are already kind of obsessed with what you guys are doing. They love the collar, they love the fit. So that we looked at each other after that and thought, okay, like that's pretty good. It's about the best phone call we could have asked for at that moment, trying to figure whether we had a brand or not. And we got a few more from clubs like that, that were some of the early adopters where they said, yeah, this is working. And so that's when we looked at each other and said, all right, let's go. Let's print up some business cards and really focus on this.
Yeah. It was all these little incremental things. At any point, we could have said, this is not worth it. We should just stop. I mean, our buddies, you run into a friend who followed the traditional post-MBA track as you are bagging and dragging into a club, and he's half drunk, leaving the club saying, John, what are you doing here? And you're sweating, and this matters like more than anything you've ever done in that moment. And you just say, I'm here to sell some shirts. see you around.
That's
you know?
that's every day of my life.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
well, yeah.
But just
We've gotten used to it. We still do it.
But
you know?
just dealing, hoofing through those things. But there were just constant little moments for sure. But when you ask a question, I kind of think we're still now, and I think Alex would, even having said what he said, agree. We still feel like we're not there. It's still kind of a wonder to us that it's gotten to where it is now, that it's a thing people are now asking for in the pro shop and writing in to us to say, how crazy they are for what we're doing. It's still, I don't know, doesn't feel quite like we're there. We're just we still are busting our butts every day to be better and better and better and fulfill the thing that we originally wanted to do, which is to be the best, create the best golf apparel in the world. And part of that means versatile, and you can wear it in all these other places, and it makes you feel good when you wear it because it fits you right, or the color's perfect. We're still just working every day to do that. But I think that's part of it. Like, if we just keep doing that, it should continue to do okay for the business.
It's kind of like an analogy with golf. If you're playing around a golf and you're just focused on your next shot, you play better than if you start thinking about what you're about to add up on your scorecard, or what money you might win in a bet or whatever. I don't like playing golf that way. I just like thinking about my next shot.
Right.
And that's how we think about the business. We get up, and every day is another day to compete and try to be great and have good product, good service, and
You start thinking you figured your swing out, it's gone.
Yeah, that's bad
making
news.
business quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with business. And I would say anybody in this room probably feels that same way. Like, the second you think you're on the top of the mountain, it's gone. You got to come in and commit to the values and the thing that you're trying to do every day, and then just do that.
Yep.
So now's a good time to, we've kind of gotten through the start of things, but at the start of everything, you make bogeys. So, just a quick hit here. What's something that you can think of where you're like, oh man, if we could have a redo on that? Just give us, again, everybody makes bogeys. What is something that you can think of that you're like, I wish I had a redo?
I wish we had this question, because there are so many to pick from.
Should have prepped you on
We've made every mistake in the book in a way. Everyone does, right? It's just part of it. You got to accept that and be humble about it. Not let it make you feel like you're not worthy, or that's just part of the journey. You're just going to mess up sometimes. I would say our first shirt, we threw more than half of them away, because, like Alex said, we didn't know to ask the mill about pilling and crocking and color fastness, and would have gotten a 2 out of 5, which is a failing grade on all of those.
Yep.
And it looked cool out of the packaging, but you probably didn't want to wash it too many times. And that was a learning. But we just said, all right, well, now we know. Make a lot of mistakes once.
Yep. Exactly.
And so that would be one thing. And I would say anybody who's thinking anything entrepreneurial or just living their life, like, of course, you don't know. I think failing, or whatever you want to call it, mistakes, are the fastest way to learn, because they hurt. You learn in proportion to how much it hurts. That's the whole thing. That's what pain, in a way, is built to do, is to teach you. So, it hurt, because it felt like, shoot, that might have been the $15,000 we spent on that run of shirts. That might have been the last powder we had in the well, and are we going to be? But we dug down, figured out a way, and we kept going. That's my example.
No, that's great. Well, so, to kind of move on to the way the company is now, give us an idea of the culture that you try to build there. I know anybody who's worked at a club, worked at a company, everybody knows that culture is king, and bad culture breeds bad, employee satisfaction and production. So how do you guys see company culture, and how do you try to make a good environment for your employees?
It's a great question, and one of the things that John and I appreciate the most about what we have done with building this brand is the opportunity to shape a culture, because culture matters a lot. We've been talking to Krista a lot here about the culture at Eastlake and Chad this morning, and you can't take it for granted. You have to be intentional about it. And so we've focused hard. You know, the business is about 8 years old, and a few years ago we sat down and wrote some cultural tenets on a piece of paper, and we share them with our team. Everybody who joins the company gets a thorough run-through of the tenets and why they matter to us from me or John or both of us. And so that's where we start on culture, and then it permeates through to the day-to-day. But some of the tenets, just to touch on them, the first is excellence. So if you want to work at Holderness and Bourne, you have to care about doing a good job. You have to care about what you're doing and deliver excellent work and be proud of the work that you're doing. And that's, if we start there, then we're going to get a long way in the industry just by, you know, for us, the way we think of it, it breaks down between product and service. So we care a lot about making excellent product, doing all the testing, all the design work, the production oversight to make sure the product is beautiful and durable and sells through and performs well for everybody who wears it. But there's an equivalent focus on excellent service, because product's only half the battle. And as everybody in this room knows, service is where you can really differentiate your business. And so we care a lot about having that extremely high level of customer-centric service and being reliable for our clients, whether it's an e-commerce customer or an account like Eastlake. You know, excellent service is a huge focus of ours. Mm-hmm. So that's excellence. And then we've got positivity is another cultural tenet. This is a very complicated industry, as everybody knows. A lot of stuff goes wrong. It's always messy. And we tell our team we've got to stay upbeat. You know, we got to be solutions oriented and just get up with an attitude that we're going to do our best and do it in a positive way and not get down about things, not let things get us too sour, because you can quickly end up in a bad place if you're focused on the negative in this industry or in any business. But this one's particularly complicated. So those are a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, won't rattle them all off, but the excellence is, it's almost, you know, it's number one, but it's part of all of it. And the thing we tell everybody is that they're aspirational, meaning some days you're going to hit a 10 out of 10 on living up to the company's values. And some days you might fall short here and there. And that doesn't mean that you are not living the values. It means that you are living the values. Part of living the values is that some days you might fall a little short, and that's okay. Admitting that they're aspirational is different from accepting less than your best effort to live up to them. So that's a nuance point. But I think it's important, you know, we think it's important to tell everyone, if you mess up once, that doesn't mean you're out, or that doesn't mean that you've failed the test. It just means you're human. And, you know, so it's almost the sixth value, is accepting that we are human and we are going to strive to be our best every day. I think the other thing that's baked in there too is we take a lot of accountability, individual accountability, so that nobody feels worried about taking accountability, because they know that everyone's willing to do it, and that's part of the culture. So you can raise your hand if you messed up, and that means usually the problem gets solved quicker because no one's trying to hide anything. It also means that when everyone sees that, and it starts with us, they feel more willing to do that, and then there's just less of the negative feedback loop into guilt and hiding and shame, and more of an upward into improving and accepting and understanding we're just on a journey to be our better selves as a company, as individuals. So those are two that's like the sea, that's the water that our values are swimming in, is a general culture of, you know, we're going to trust each other to be always striving, and we're going to allow each other to not always live up, and we're going to support that. Support each other in that. And, you know, there's an experiment they do in behavioral psychology all the time. You give people a task, and if it's accomplished successfully, you ask the 3 people associated with achieving the task, what percentage of the success were you a part of? And everyone, it always adds up to greater than 100%. Every individual contributed more than a third if there were 3. That's mathematically impossible. We think about the inverse. If something goes not so well, we would like for the total of everyone, the amount of blame taken, to be greater than 100%. We want everybody to be willing and, in fact, kind of eager to say, this is where, because they understand that that's how you get better. That's a big thing. Like Alex said, it's a complicated industry. Putting even just, we're not making rocket ships, we're just making polo shirts. But even that, there's a lot of things that go into it, and everything's related to everything else, and one thing goes wrong and everything else down. So you just, it's important, given that, to have that type of culture.
I think everybody in this room, whether golf pro, buyer, a lot of the golf pros and buyers have, experienced different work cultures, and especially this day and age. I mean, everybody knows the employment challenges that are going on, globally at this point. And so, the focus on culture is probably more important now than ever. Have you guys seen, the ability to kind of keep up with the marketplace from that standpoint, from an employment, from just kind of, your supply chain, all that? Have you had challenges there, or has that company culture kept you above?
The culture helps, but it is hard to find people. That's one of our biggest challenges now with the growth of the business is we're architecting what we want the company to look like, and that's one exercise. And then the tougher part is going out and finding the right person for each role. And it's harder than it ever has been, but the culture helps us. We like to invite people to get to know our team, get to know the values of the company by speaking to people who work for Holderness and Bourne, because that ends up usually with a favorable result. And there have been only a couple people in the 8 years we've been in business who aren't with us still, and those were for various reasons that we can't control. But almost everybody who ever joined Holderness and Bourne is still with us, and I think that's due in part to our culture, and we're proud of that. So that helps, being able to tell that story.
Yeah, we a lot of the people we've hired are not through cold search. They've come to us, so that helps, and I think it's because either they admire what we're doing on a product level, on a brand level, or they've heard from somebody that it's a pretty cool place to work. And then retention, if you can retain your team, then you can spend less time recruiting new members to your team. So I think retention is a key point. Culture plays a big role in that. Talent is difficult to identify, and it's difficult to recruit. So when you get someone good, keep them, make sure they're happy. Sometimes it's remuneration, it's money. Sometimes it's some other things, just they want to feel valued, they want to feel heard, they want to. That was part of the entrepreneurial aspect that Alex was referencing earlier. There was this thing we wanted to make, Better Polo Shirt, and then there was this company we wanted to build where people would be really psyched to spend 8, 10, 15 hours a day, most days of the week, coming in and putting their mind and their heart into the company.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about that. And this company is young. We're 50 people, and we're very fortunate to be where we are now, where we feel like, okay, now we have a shot at being a real company. But it's the people who create the opportunity for the next people. Every person on the team, by their efforts, is creating the company that will allow the next person to join. We make sure everybody understands that. And I think that is part of the culture. That's part of everyone feels like they're with us, they're building. And that building is going to create a bigger company that can bring more people in and just, provide that, provide that sense of, I really like this thing I'm spending most of my time doing.
Yep.
Well, it's definitely an interesting question. You guys probably saw the article by Golf Digest about the golf pro, what do they call it? Not the golf pro issue, but golf pro struggle, whatever it was, to find talent, to retain talent in our industry, and definitely something that we talk about a lot as PGA professionals. So, I think it comes back, probably to culture, and that's something that you guys clearly, have highlighted and understand.
Well, East Lake Golf with a Purpose, mission, culture, these are all sort of the same things. You got to pay someone enough money that they're not worried about getting their kid diapers or whatever it might be. So there's a base level that you have to satisfy, and maybe the PGA hasn't gotten that quite right. But then once you're at that base level, you have to provide something, you have to provide a mission that the people you recruit and train feel is worth their time to pursue, whatever that may be. And I think everybody in this room, every employer should be thinking about that. What's the base level, on the raw remuneration front, and then what is the mission that we're pitching here? What are we here to do every day? And just being excellent is enough. If you can really clearly define what being excellent is in your organization and say, we come in here every day and we're excellent, and that's a thing worth doing. That's a goal worth pursuing. You can layer in whatever the day-to-day tasks are, but it's doable.
Yeah, love it. All right, so we're going to go to a couple of quicker answer things. Just, some things to get to know you guys. So where are you from originally?
Originally, well, I was born in Truckee, California, up north of Lake Tahoe, and didn't live out there long. My family moved back to North Carolina when I was young. So I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, went to Chapel Hill, and so I'm a Southern boy, really. It's good to be back down in this part of the country, but I've been living in New York way too long, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, in the city, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
My line is, I live in Manhattan and I got the golf game to prove it. It's not pretty.
Clip me out there today.
Yeah, we had a good little
I grew up
match.
in Oyster Bay, Long Island. So North Shore, Long Island, it's golf rich.
Oh.
And
No good golf out there.
Yeah, terrible. Golf rich and, an interesting place to observe the way people of means decide to spend their money, and particularly on clothing. So I would say,
Thank
that
God
was-
for it, right?
yeah. It was a good education.
So, so favorite golf area outside of where you grew up, if you were going to, not a specific golf course yet, golf region, where are you going? It could be in the world.
I haven't been over there lately, but I lived in London for a while, and the golf around England and Scotland, the links golf, about as good as it gets in my book.
Yeah, I won't give a specific region, but a type of golf where you're kind of in the wilderness. So whether it's the Sandhills, whether it's Bend, Oregon, or just a place where you're kind of out in the woods or in the wilderness, and the rawness of nature is meeting this sort of manicured and refined sport we're playing. There's something about that type of environment that I love. And, you can have a few too many drinks, hell at the moon, no one hears you, it's good.
I'm going to put you a little more on the spot then, because my running joke is like, when it's over for me, I hope they spread my ashes at Mid-Ocean Club in Bermuda, just looking over the cliffs,
Yeah,
knowing
man.
CB's there with me.
Yeah.
So give me, if you're going to play a round of golf, where are you going? And it doesn't matter. You
One
got to name
round.
names.
Well, I'll stick with this England thing. So Rye Golf Club, coolest course I've ever played. It's par 68, it's links. It's Harry Colt's first design before he became a big deal and started doing all this design stuff. But yeah, it's cool. It's just this funky links course down south of London and in this really dry coastal part of England, and it's gorgeous and really cool culture. You have to change into a coat and tie to have lunch, and then you sit and drink Kummel and then go play another round of alternate shot 2-ball foursomes, and I don't know, it's just cool, just very different. And I haven't done it in years, but I keep telling John that's one of my dreams is that we'll get over there at some point together and do it. So
Go to Seville Row, get some.
yeah,
get
stop
some
in
suits
London,
made.
stop in London for some research, see what's going
You gotta
on
do
with
the R&D. You got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It'd be foolish to spend
Right.
on plane fare and not go do that.
And it's a
Exactly.
write-off.
Yeah, it's all right off.
Yeah.
I'll say Yale. That
Nice.
was the place where. So growing up, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was playing these really incredible golf courses, just because friends were members, and I was a kid, just being a brat, running around. But I wasn't that into golf, is what I'm saying. I didn't take it all that seriously until business school, when we were up at Yale, and it was $12 guest fees, which eventually became, oh hey guys, you just go on, it's fine. So just access to this really world-class golf course, which Gil Hans is going to touch up, and that's going to be amazing. But I hadn't been there for 4 years or something, just building this business, whatever. We recently went back up, and it ignited in me all these memories and this sort of, it's just such a fun, it is in a way, it's in the woods.
Yeah.
There's nothing around you. You're just
It's a nature
on-
preserve,
yeah.
yeah.
And the architecture is cool. I could appreciate it more even now than I did then. The history is very cool, and it's just a fun, adventurous golf course that reminds me of kind of when my, where my love of golf was reignited. So I'll say yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So when you walk into a golf shop, outside of seeing H&B all over the place, what are you looking for? What things in a golf shop? What is a good kind of best practice that you could share with the folks that you see out there, and you're like, man, when they do this, I know they're dialed.
That's a great question.
It's a tough question.
Yeah. I think mostly it's about how the merchandise is presented, and is it fresh? Does it feel fresh? I think the shops that move things around often and keep the same stock looking new, that's always impressive, and it always, I think, helps to drive sell-through. So that's one thing, is just how is it presented, and I'll have to think about others. John, you got
I'm
any?
a sucker for a really good paper fold.
Yeah.
When we get pictures of those shops who spend the time to, because there's a couple of assistants that are either going to be watching Golf Channel or, folding shirts, making
Practice
it look
swinging.
good, really, okay,
Practice swinging
whatever
over
they
there.
may be doing. Yeah, from our perspective, hey boys, let's get some printer paper and go make this stack look good. What do you say? Instagram has seen you enough. You may now fold these shirts, please. But I also acknowledge, if I were a customer, I'd almost be hesitant to touch some of these displays because they look so good. So then, you go to the hanger. We early on,
The white
at
hangers.
great expense, bought our own hangers. They
Yeah.
were, whatever it is. I think they cost us $50 a box of 24, and we're for sure this hanger provider's #1 customer. We ship them all out, and we love when the product's on our hanger, distinguished, and it doesn't just have to be for us. I guess the more general point here is make brands more easily identifiable as like, oh, that's the Holderness and Bourne stuff,
Yeah.
that's the whoever. Just something to call it out, and then hanging, so a guy can just kind of touch it and feel it and go, oh yeah, okay, I'll take this. That's a basic, that's obvious, but I think just getting stuff on hangers, getting it where people are passing by and just might grab it. Product we make is all for men. We're closer to cavemen than any of us want to admit. We just, this is soft, this looks good, I will buy. So keep that in mind.
It's a great best practice.
Yeah.
Make it easily identifiable. For good or bad, you want people to be able to discern. So, all right. So, on a golf trip, your favorite thing about a golf trip, other than the round of golf, what's the thing that you're like, man,
Good caddy.
good caddy?
Yeah, especially if you can get a same loop a couple days in a row and you start to develop a rapport.
Oh yeah.
I am not a tour player, but when you get somebody who can start to have some of that chat where you're talking, is this 7 or is this an 8? You can start to feel that little bit of, this is more than just, okay, it's, 175, give me the 7. You start talking about, oh, maybe we could, and that all
that's
has,
fun.
you got to have a good loop, and
Yeah.
especially a loop who's seen you a couple times.
Yeah.
So I'd say that.
Get to know them a little bit.
I'll say a good night's sleep. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the 3-year-old has a habit
Cheers.
of coming in. Yeah, he's one of those middle of the night, wants to watch TV or eat a snack type kids. So when I'm on a golf trip, like even just now over at Sterling House, I'm sleeping like a baby, and it's a divine thing, man. Getting a good night's sleep, there's nothing better.
Yeah, these shows the same way as on the rep side. You're like,
Yeah.
I miss my family, but
Sure,
that
of course.
hotel is cold and quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, OG style, right? When you guys had me sold at the McDonald, right? Ode to CB, I would assume.
Yep.
So what's your favorite OG style that you're like, man, I go back to that thing and I love it?
In our line,
Of course.
you said the McDonald's, so I hesitate to say it, but if you looked in my closet, probably the first 15 hangers are white McDonald's.
And so tell them what that is for the folks who don't know.
It's just a classic performance piqué material, so it's lightweight, breathable piqué, breathable mesh, whatever you want to call it. Poly stretch blend. It doesn't look like poly because the piqué takes some of that shine out, which was a pretty intentional thing we were trying to do, is make
Full
this,
dull yarns, yeah.
full dull yarn, make it look very almost like cotton, but have all the performance attributes, especially wash and wear. Just you can launder these things, throw them on a hanger, they're golden. Collar is structured and perfect. White looks good under anything. I wear a lot of white shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
classic.
I'll go with the Fisher belt. We've been making this Fisher belt. It's a stretch belt with some Italian leather, Italian stretch webbing. It's OG. We've had it for 5 or 6 years, and it's just incredible how versatile it is. John's probably wearing his right now.
Yep.
You can put it with a sport coat. You can really dress it up because it's got that leather and a high-polished chrome buckle, but it's also an athletic belt. It's got that stretch, and you wear it on the golf course. And I don't wear any other belts. I donated my other stuff to Goodwill because this is like a go-anywhere belt. It's amazing.
I got a funny story. So
Oh, yeah?
Roberto Castro,
Yeah.
he brought in this purple belt to me at the shop at Cuscawilla, and he goes, "Hey, pro, try this thing." And I looked at him, who's very thin, and I'm like, "Buddy, I can't fit into your belt." And he goes, No, it stretches a lot."
Okay.
I was like, "Thanks for the
Yeah.
compliment."
Right.
Stretches a lot. All right, so
Yep.
in 10 years, what do you want folks to be looking at when they think about H&B, when they think about what you guys are doing, when they think about you as a brand? What do you kind of hope for? You know, I mean, brands get big, brands sell out.
Right.
What do you know, maybe obvious, but what do you want them to think?
I'll kick us off. Our intention and our desire is to stay focused on being a brand that is in golf, right? Like we think of it as a special brand found in special places within the game of golf. And that's not going to change. You know, we're not trying to be the next J. Crew and get big and mass market. We don't want that. We never have wanted that. And it's not as though as we grow, we're changing our attitude about it. We want to stay focused as an authentic golf brand that makes product for this type of environment, this type of lifestyle. And we, like John has said a few times during this chat, we feel like we're just getting started. Like 10 years from now, we'll just be doing this. We'll be hopefully having more product and a bigger team, and we'll be capable of more as a brand. But the focus of what we will do probably won't have changed at all if we have our way.
Yeah, I was thinking about it from an internal perspective. You know, I hope we have, like Alex just said, more people who are, you know, more jazzed up even than we are now about what the next 10 years will look like. I hope that the people who are with us now will look back and be really proud of what they've helped us accomplish in those next 10 years. But on a brand level, we have a singular vision, like Alex just said, which is to be the world's leading golf apparel brand. That's it. It's very simple. The world means we're mostly just in the United States right now, and not even in the next couple of years will this be a focus. But opportunistically, we take some international accounts, but we're still very much an American golf lifestyle brand. So there's tons of opportunity for us to stay focused on golf and think about some other markets internationally. But golf is in there, and that doesn't mean we'll never make a thing that you don't wear to play golf. I'm wearing one of our woven shirts. It's within the golf lifestyle. You know, you have one of these in your locker, so when you forgot that you had dinner with your wife and you just came off the golf course, you just shower up and you're ready to go, look like $1 million. So I think we can expand the product assortment outside the classic, polo shirt, quarter zip range. But it's not going to, like I think Alex said it perfectly, we're going to just be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing the same thing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, so, almost done. Thank you guys so much for all the time. After we get done with our recording, we're going to have time for hopefully everybody to meet you and ask any questions that we missed. But if we missed anything that I should have touched on, I have these amazing notes that I scratched together at like 11 o'clock last night. So did I miss anything here? Is there anything else you want to share with the group?
I would just say we'd be remiss not to thank Drew, Krista, Chad, and the team here at Eastlake for hosting this. This is incredible. There aren't many facilities that could host something like this in such style and with such class, and that is matched by the people who are helping us be here, so thank you.
Yep.
And I would say we are, hopefully this has come across, we are humble and hungry and incredibly thankful to the people in this room who have helped us achieve the little that we feel like we have achieved. And we are committed to you. Hopefully that's come through. We're a golf brand just trying to do better every day and make better products so that y'all can look good for putting it in your shops. And the people who buy it have a little spark of joy when they wear it, and they feel good about themselves when they go into, whether it's a round of golf or dinner with their friends or whatever it is, that is at the end of the day what we're trying to do is make great clothing to make people feel good. And we are just thankful for you helping us do that. We wouldn't be here without you. We truly would not. So thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. That's well said. And you're in that crew. You're one of those people. So thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
John, Alex, thank you for your time on behalf of the Georgia PGA. We appreciate all the time being here on behalf of East Lake. I mean, they were so excited to have you, as everybody was to hear. So thank you. I hope you'll stick around and meet everybody. But again, thanks again for all the time.
Likewise. Thank you, Russ.
A lot of fun.
Great. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. That was great.